For all the retired people out there, you've got your minimum required distribution every year. So that I use part of my minimum required distribution from my IRA to give to the crop walk. So it's a nice idea. There's more and more retired people every year.
This is a podcast called Walk, Talk, Listen. An attempt to connect people and make this world a bit better by sharing opinions and experiences based on the belief that everyone's perspective is true, albeit partial. My name is Maurice Blom, and I would like to welcome you to yet another episode of Walk, Talk, Listen. Okay, good day, everybody. This is another episode of the podcast Walk, Talk, Listen, and I'm really delighted today with the two guests that I have. This is part of the 1100 mile walk. These series of episodes. I arrived actually yesterday, and today I did a little run. I came across a lot of hills, so I hope that I will not see too many hills during the coming days. But I'm delighted with today's guests because they are doing great work in the Seattle area, and they will tell who they are. They will tell about the crop hunger walk that they are supporting already for, I think, close to 40 years, 39 years.
This will be 40.
This will be 40. Wow. So Jeff and Sharon, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Sharon Kenyon, and I've been active with the Renton CROP Hunger Walk for 38 years, actually 39, and then I got active doing something besides walking after the first year. Our very first year of walking, my daughter, I went out with her, and I said, for every envelope you get full of walkers, we'll give you $100 for that envelope. So she proudly told Daddy when he came home how many envelopes she had filled and said, and Mommy promised that you guys were going to pay $100 for every envelope. So ever since then, she's been very gung-ho. This was when she was in second grade.
Yeah.
That's one thing that inspired me so much with Crop Walk, was how much it inspired her.
Right. And before we go to Jeff, so you said the first year you were only, quote unquote, only a walker, not an organizer. So
Correct.
Who brought you into why did you decided to start?
Well, actually, the very first year that I didn't walk, we were just new in the church, and we had just donated to something else. And I said, now they want us to donate to something else, and no, we're not going to do that. And we were new jobs, etc. So the next year we decided to walk, and just thought it was wonderful and really enjoyed it. And my daughter was so inspired that she inspired us.
Great. Okay. And Jeff, and you were forced into it, or tell how you got involved.
I guess, yeah. I was introduced myself as Mr. Sharon Kenyon because Sharon inspired me to get going in this. I'm a retired airline pilot. And I'm also a retired Air Force Reserve, which I guess Air Force retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my where I came from.
My father was in the Air Force as well, in the Dutch Air Force. Yeah, he was an electromechanic. So he had to make sure that the plane stayed. Everything was working properly, right? When you went
airworthy. Airworthy.
Yes, airworthy.
Very good. I about the crop walk. I mean, I guess most of the crop walks that I've done, I'm kind of the go-to guy as far as the setup and the cleanup at the end and stuff that might happen in between. We do have a guy that helps us out with certain supplies and things like that. But getting started with the crop walk, myself. It was kind of a family thing. I have done the crop walks by myself, but most of the time I did it with my daughter. I always look forward every year to walking with my daughter. And you like level areas to walk, and that's what our crop walk is. It's level. It's not a big strenuous thing. It's it's been about 6 miles in the past, and actually we're going to shorten it this year. But and it's a level walk. It is a little tiring, to do it. But I think, well, how tired do the people get that have to go walk that far for water every day or whatever? We walk because they walk. The last couple of years, I've been doing the walk with my grandson. So I really enjoy walking with my grandson too, because he has a kind of a perspective. He's a very positive-minded person, and he's how old is he now? 26, 27. So he's not. I guess you could sort of consider him still a youth. But anyway, it's good to get his perspective on everything, and to do that, he enjoys doing it for the same reasons. Why not do it? Why not do it?
Tell the listeners a bit about, so how many people are involved in organizing it, and when do you start when preparing for it?
I kind of wait till the first of the year and then start organizing.
And your walk is when again?
The 30th of April. Right.
Okay, so in the beginning of the year, you start thinking about what needs to be done.
Well, I get the permits going with the city and some publicity, and then the recruiters. We always have the recruiters meeting with materials and everything that they need to go by the end of February, and then we take off for a couple of weeks and go down and get some sunshine, and then come back, and we're ready to go again now. So churches really won't get involved, or people won't really get involved that much until April.
Okay, wow. And so how many besides you? How many and Jeff? How many more people are part of the organization, or it's only the two of you, and then later in April some additional folks join?
We have a treasurer and then someone that does arrangements, and we had less helpers lately just because of COVID and the way things went. We had less walkers, so slowly we're building up to having more walkers again now. At one time we had 400 walkers years ago. Now we didn't even have 100 last year, but I'm hoping we'll have at least 100 this year.
We used to have all the previous years we had 3 checkpoints that we had to start. Checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3 at the turnaround. Since we shortened the walk this year, we're only going to have the start and 1 other checkpoint. So those people for the previous checkpoints have been doing it for many, many years. Checkpoint 2, we have a neighbor that does that. Or no, that's checkpoint 1, I guess. Bill. He's been doing it for many, many years with other people, another person or people with his church. And then the people at the turnaround have been doing it for many, many years. One of them was the daughter of somebody who had been the coordinator for our crop walk for a few years before Sharon. And the people at checkpoint 2 it kind of varies, but anyway, you have to kind of include those people with people that are really essential for us. To have the checkpoint people. We have what's called an arrangements person, Joe. So he kind of makes sure that the checkpoints have chairs and tables and water,
cookies.
Yeah, cookie. That's right. He provides the cookies. Obviously, it's volunteers that provide cookies. We've had orange slices. Things changed a little bit, obviously, during COVID. Actually, we didn't even have a crop walk in 2020, or actually, I guess 2021. I guess we didn't have one either, did we? Just mainly online.
Everybody did their own walk.
But anyway, generally, we have to.
You did something online, right? Then at that time, it did not stop. You still raised money.
Their own walk,
So no cookies and no oranges, darn it.
No. Okay. And so you were saying you have less walkers. Is that affecting also the the amount of funds raised, or is that stable, or is the
Yeah,
increase decrease?
we're coming back now, but it did affect it some.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell us about then part of the money goes back into the local community. So which organizations are you supporting?
Salvation Army, Renton Rotary Food Bank. That's the main food bank in Renton. And this will be the 39th year or the 40th year we're supporting them. They're the original. Wow. We have something called the South King County Shelter Program, which was originally a RISE. Mm-hmm. So originally it was homeless people coming to a church and being provided a place to sleep and food. Now, since COVID, the county has kind of taken over that, and now they're staying in a hotel, which is working out, and Catholic Community Services leads that. And that works out really well because of the fact that now everybody is in one place and they have medical care. They have people that have the ability to find them jobs and get them on their feet. And so we're really seeing that it really is helping the homeless situation and giving people opportunities to get on their feet. Margie William Helping Hands, we've been doing that for quite a few years. We originally, one of the reasons we started that was because Salvation Army Food Bank was closed on Saturdays and they were open. St. Vincent de Paul Food Program, that one of the main reasons we were helping with that was it was a place where workers who couldn't really afford food could go in there and get a quick sack lunch. Or the other thing they kind of specialized in was older people where they would actually take food to them. Reach Center of Hope provides a day center with 24-hour shelter and meals for families, all in one area. It welcomes fathers and boys 12 years and older, which has been a real problem for families because they were being split apart because there was the father and the son, and they could. And then also Reach Renton Meal Coalition, and that sprouted from someone coming to a Reach meeting that said, "You people are all so religious, and on Sundays we have nowhere to eat. And you're enjoying your church and you are enjoying your meals." And so that sprouted from that comment. And so they serve meals on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and in the evening, and then every morning for breakfast for anybody that needs it.
Wow. That's a lot of organization, a lot of good things that are being supported. Yeah, and so are they every year the same, or do you review it together in your committee? How does that work?
It's been pretty much those for quite a few years.
Okay.
Now. Yeah.
Okay, got it. I want to piggyback on your comment, Jeff, because you were saying you're walking with your grandson. How is it? If you compare it 39 years ago with the participation of the younger generation, is that stable, or are less young folks involved?
I'd like to think these things maybe go in waves, but I don't know how many youth from other churches were involved. We had quite a few youth from our church. Our grandson, is really not in our community. Actually, he goes to his own church in Seattle. I think it's in Seattle. So the number of youth in our crop walk has actually decreased. I don't know if it was because of COVID or what, but I don't know how much the youth. How much has it really actually decreased in the last?
It mainly has to do with just it's not that the amount of youth have decreased that are coming to our walk so much as it is that most all the churches don't have much of any youth group anymore, where they did 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And our church still does have a youth group, and they're very passionate about making a difference. And they all do show up to the crop walk, but it's just maybe a fourth of the size that it used to be. Our youth, we used to have like 60 youth from our church coming to the walk.
Piggybacking on what you just said, that within your own church, you still, the youth is very active. But what in general, if you look at the youth in your community, what do you see? And what I mean, what I would like to know from you is in relation to their faith, religion, spirituality. How does that compare if you compare it to when you were growing up, were young? Is there any difference? What are your observations?
I think that there's just a different type of social life, and that the church used to be much more of a social life for younger people and younger families than it is now. Families are just so much busier, and very often sports are on Sundays, and there's just a lot of conflict with being able to make it to church regularly like they used to.
It makes it challenging for the crop hunger walks to continue to organize, right? So how are you trying to deal with that as volunteers? Because you need old and young to continue, I guess.
We go with what we have, and our youth are just wonderful. And one thing that we really stress, you're not just earning money, and you're not just walking. You are experiencing the walk of you're walking for water because they walk for water. And what's so fantastic about our crop walk is it's along the Cedar River. So you can see the little streams that are coming into the river. And, every year when I talk to the youth, it's like, so how far would you have to walk for your water if you didn't have it coming out of your faucet, And we always stress, think about that when you're doing the crop walk, that people have to walk this far for water every day, or maybe twice a day, just to get water. And how much time does that take, besides all the other jobs that you would need to do? So they're pretty immersed into why they're walking. They're just not walking to earn money. They're feeling what people feel in other countries.
I'm my organization's representative, to the UN, working on policies and trying to ensure that the whole world ultimately is looking at working together at something that we come up with as a world, and it's called the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Goal number 2 is ending hunger. Goal number 1 is ending poverty. There's a water goal as well. And everything is related, right? I mean, you mentioned it yourself in terms of access to water is very much linked with hunger as well. And, gender, which is sustainable development goal number 5. If you talk about water in many countries, the women are the ones that have to walk. And if they are away from a community, that has implications for childcare, or that has implications for violence against women because they walk all alone, all those miles. So I'm very passionate that we together try to reach those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. My question is to you is: have you heard about Sustainable Development Goals? And if so, what do you think the listeners should know about the Sustainable Development Goals? And if you have not heard about the Sustainable Development Goals, what comes first to your mind when you hear me talking about it?
When I read I saw the one video, I'm trying to think what Einstein said. He said, you can never solve the problems in the world with the same level or form of consciousness that caused the problems in the first place. So that's really what I got out of looking at all those, the video, sustainability things. I think when you talk about having goals of zero hunger, you've got to take into consideration, I think, human nature. And there's certain things about human nature that you're never going to overcome. And education tries to overcome certain limitations of human beings, but some people either can't get educated or they don't want to be educated. They don't want to change their paradigms. They don't want to change how they've been doing things for years and years. I guess that gender thing about the woman carrying the water, that what the actual with that, so that human nature is certainly a barrier to a lot of the goals that are being being hoped for.
I don't know if you saw also what I sent you about the inner development goals, because a lot of, in a sense, maybe what you were alluding to is what a growing number of people around the world have been saying. One of the reasons that we are not reaching those goals or are behind because we said, before 2030, we need to reach those goals. But they are saying one of the reasons that we are behind is that we are not paying attention to, the I in the community, the things that the empathy that you need to work on as an individual and as a community. That there are certain things, skills, knowledge that you need. And they came up with the inner development goals, so 5 goals: being, thinking, relating, collaborating, and action. Is that something that you were just alluding to in terms of, you cannot just work on the system, you need to work on yourself and on your community as well? Is that what I heard? And does that resonate with you, the inner development goals?
It definitely does with me. And one of the things that I heard in one of those 2 that you were mentioning was they were saying that we've got the science, we've got the knowledge, we're kind of ready to go, but what's holding us up is selfishness, greed, and apathy. And I just thought that really laid it on the line fairly clearly that, it's gotta, you can't always rely on the system to do it. It has to start from the bottom up.
Yeah, I think as far as like climate change, the title of Al Gore's book was "Inconvenient Truth." It's inconvenient for people to change their ways, so they don't do it. They're for the same, probably a lot of the same, the 3 reasons that Sharon just said. Well, what are they? Greed,
Selfishness, greed, and apathy.
Greed and apathy.
Which we're all guilty of.
We're all guilty. Human nature.
I don't know if you heard. No, you haven't heard, because I did not make the podcast available. But I spoke a couple of days ago with a journalist and an author and he's a coach as well, a leadership coach, who has gone off the grid for 8 months now. So he doesn't use electricity, and he uses whatever solar energy he gets. He doesn't produce any garbage anymore. You should listen to it. It's interesting, and I'm not saying that we all should do that. But it's kind of it got me thinking in terms of can we all do a little bit more for each other and for our children ultimately, and for our grandchildren. So yeah, after I've talked with you, I need to edit that one and post that one so that you can listen to it. I'm a music. I would like to go to an area that is also very close to my heart, and that's music. So I always ask my guests also to come up with a piece of music or a song that best embodies who you are or part of you. So which song or piece of music would that be, and why? And this is the question that my guests always find the most difficult question. So take your time.
I'm going to go with "Give a Little Bit" by Supertramp. I guess it was a '70s song.
Yeah.
Probably written by Roger Hodgson. I don't know all the words, but give a little bit, get a little bit of your love to me. See the man with the what is that? See the man with the can't remember, something. Smile. Take his hand, and you'd be so surprised. Something like that. I like the words. I like the music. Give a little bit. Give a little bit of yourself.
Okay. And if you because it says something, that's what you just told me about you. So when you look back what you have done so far, have you given a little bit of yourself?
Oh, I'd like to think in terms of time, I suppose. I feel we've given the time for doing certain things, especially with the crop walk. Financially, I guess we've given. I guess I finished in the top 100 of of walkers last year anyway. So I'm hoping to do the same thing this year. So my little bit, I guess, is not too bad.
Great. Yeah. No, and I'm never aware of those things, right? It's all confidential information. So that's great. Thanks, Jeff. And Sharon.
I had a real hard time with that. I do sign songs.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. But I went through all those songs and it's like I like them all, but they didn't describe me.
No.
So I would say what describes me is some song that talks about dancing, because I'm not too much into the words of songs. I'm more into the feeling and the beat. And we're dancers. And I'm always on the move. I can't imagine I've sat here this long already, just on the move and on the go and doing things.
So your top 5 dance songs, what is number 1 then? But when the song starts, you can't sit still and go for it. Which one is that?
I can't think of words of songs, but maybe something like Flash Dance or something with a good beat.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a nice song. Okay. And just for the listeners and for you, maybe if you don't know, but I made a Spotify playlist of all the songs that have been selected by my guests. So if you go to Spotify, #WalkTalkListen, then you will find all those songs. And I very often listen to it myself because it reminds me of all those awesome conversations that I had in the last 2 years. So. I'd like to go back to hunger nutrition in the US. And recently, a new strategy was approved. It's called the White House. Well, I like to call it only the National Strategy on Hunger, Nutrition, and Health. And I mean, the official one is maybe the Biden-Harris one, but I skipped that because it is really a result of a bipartisan effort. So otherwise it gets politicized, and I really think it's a national strategy that should go beyond whoever is in charge of it. But I don't know if you had time, because I sent you the summary, what is written in it. But the strategy is important in relation to things like SNAP and WIC, nutritional initiatives for people who need it in the US. So my question is, were you aware about this new strategy? Do you see, in working with those 5 implementing agencies, the recipients of the Crop Hunger Walk, do you hear worries? Are they hopeful? Is there anything that you've heard about the strategy? And that this new strategy could be helpful in strengthening their efforts in fighting hunger and poverty and health.
I'm not real aware of the programs that are existing now, but I am familiar with WIC, and I'm a retired nurse. So to me, it's really important that people get the right nutrition from the beginning up, and especially during their pregnancies. So I think it's important that the government does step up and make sure that people get what they need.
I think a lot of it has to do with education too. You like to think that they can it can educate the kids as far as well, you know, if you eat the right things, you know, there's gonna be a good outcome. If you don't eat the right things, you know, your outcome is not going to be very good. And I don't know what they can do to kids these days. Probably like shock treatment. I think if they see they see somebody, so you're going to get type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes, whatever. If this happens, if you know, if you don't blah 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 blah. Because you hear horror stories about kids that have, you know, a decent lunch or school lunch, and they'll end up like throwing away some of the vegetables because they don't you know, they don't taste good or something. You don't know what the what you know, how to deal with something like that. I think education is a lot of the thing with nutrition, and it's tough to get people to change their ways and to not like, you know, sweet things and you know, sweet drinks or whatever. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. No, and so listening to you, are there certain specific worries with regard to the Seattle area? For me, coming here, everywhere I go during this week, I call the Seattle area, right? So it's the Kent area as well as the whole, this part of the West Coast. Anything specifically you see in your area?
We're not really that aware of what's going on with hunger, other than the food bank saying we're having all these people coming in. And one of the things that is so nice is the Margie William Helping Hands food bank. They're really into really trying to make sure they have lots of fresh fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Yeah. And I have to say, you know, I started in 2012 with this 100-mile walk, and I started in Southern California. And I have to say, you know, over the years, I've seen, then I did not see a lot of fresh produce, and that definitely improved.
Yeah.
And so it's good to hear that you see that also in your area, because that's important. You know, it's not only about food, it is about quality food, nutritious food. So in there, fresh produce is important. And then, Jeff, as you mentioned, then you have to ensure that the children will eat it. Of course, that's the other step. You're so right. This is also my opportunity to show my listeners about Seattle. So, but I don't know a lot about Seattle area. But again, what I mean with Seattle area is also the area where you live. You know, Kent, where I'm going to. So, all those surrounding areas.
I can say that one of the big things that a lot of people are doing, different churches, is a lot of the churches now have their little food pantry that's this big. And we are on the greening committee, so we're at our church very, very often outside working. And that there are cars coming so often. And, you know, one car, I try not to look too much, you know, but, you know, one car comes and they're putting a bunch of food in, the next car comes, they're taking a bunch of food out. So it's definitely a need. And I see where the churches are really stepping up to help that situation.
And what's interesting you say that, because a couple of episodes ago, I was also talking with somebody saying, you know, yes, that you know, the youth are going less to church, but they do come to the home gardens, you know, that are adjacent to the church, a part of the church, because that's where they would like to be involved. Yeah. Not necessarily in the church itself, but in the activities that might be linked with church. So it's interesting that you mentioned that. Okay. No, anything specifically about the West Coast? You know, why do you love, you know, where you live? What should people know about, you know, your area?
Well, we're hikers, so we highly recommend the area for hiking in the mountains and out along the rivers. We hike parts of the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that goes from Mexico up to Canada. So we've gotten just about all the areas that we can done in Washington, except for real far south. And we've gotten quite a bit of Southern California done also. But the hiking is beautiful up here with ferns and beautiful trees, and it might be a really hot day, but when you're under the trees and there's a little breeze, it's beautiful.
Mm.
And you've got the snow-covered volcanoes, Mount Rainier and St. Helens, if you want to go a little farther south, and Mount Adams. The scenery is gorgeous. It's the most beautiful hiking I've ever been on in my life. We've been to New Zealand and Australia and Europe and everywhere. This is really the best area to hike, I think, in the world.
Okay, that's people should know. This is the best hiking area in the world. I had seen the Mount Rainier. You call it Rainier? Is that the name?
Rainier.
Rainier.
Or the
from the plane.
Yeah.
Tahoma.
It was beautiful. I mean, I didn't know that it was that close, because I thought, oh, we are somewhere midway, but right after we were descending. So yeah, beautiful. So okay, that's the message that we give to the listeners. Awesome. I would like to thank you so much for your willingness to talk with me. Is there anything that I should have asked you that we did not address?
Well, there's a couple of things I'd like to brag about.
Okay, go.
Renton's population is 111,500, and Renton came in at 81 out of 500 walks, which puts us in the top 100, which is the cream of the crop.
Wow.
And our church, Fairwood United Methodist, they came in at 39 out of I don't know how many churches there are.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also had a walker in our church that came in at 86 in the nation.
Wow, that is absolutely impressive. Yeah. And that list just came out. Is that we do that on a yearly basis, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
it was 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. So the one that you're going that's coming up is not part of that yet. So you're going to beat this in 2023, right? Yeah,
I think we will.
Jeff is putting his thumbs up there. So for the listeners, yeah. Okay, cool. Anything else that we missed?
Oh, the one thing I would like to add is that for when I was talking about our daughter, who we had given her $300 that first year when she walked, she got all those walkers. It's been a tradition for her as an adult to donate $100 or $300 to us every year for the crop walk.
That's nice. Yeah. That's good. That's a great story. Thank you so much for everything you have done so far and continue to do. I'm really so impressed and that you put so much time and effort into this, and it's great, and it's doing a lot of good. So I think you can be proud.
Can I add something too?
Yes,
for all the retired people out there, you've got your minimum required distribution every year. So that I use part of my minimum required distribution from my IRA to give to the crop walk. So it's a nice idea. There's more and more retired people every year, and we have things at our church where people are giving their minimum required distribution to their church. Well, consider giving a little bit to the crop walk too.
Great. We should use your pitch for finding more retired people giving to CROP and CWS for our activities within the US and outside. Great. Thank you so much, and good luck with the upcoming CROP Hunger Walk. What is the date? Let us repeat it one more time. In April. What's the
April 30th?
April 30th. Everybody, if you're close by, you live in the area, sign up. We'll make sure that I mention the link in the podcast notes. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maurice.
Thank you. Good job.
Have a great day.
With over 1,100 miles walked, Maurice is yet again training to walk 100 more. So for those of you who aren't familiar, which if you're an avid listener, I'm sure you are, The 100-Mile Hunger Walk was started in 2012 by Maurice to raise funds and awareness to fight hunger and poverty around the world. This annual event came to be because Maurice was inspired by the spirit of volunteerism behind the CWS-sponsored CROP Hunger Walks, which are a community-organized charity event that takes place in over 500 locations across the U.S. each year. So because of this, Maurice decided to set out on his own journey and put his feet where his heart was. This year's 100-Mile Walk will take place from Monday, March 26th, to Saturday, April 1st in Seattle, Washington. And on top of that, our fundraising campaign will run until the end of the summer. All the proceeds will go to support CWS's global programs that work to create a world where there is enough for all. So, how does the 100-Mile work? Well, each year Bloom walks 100 miles through CWS and CROP communities and spends his time meeting with our CROP volunteer teams, with beneficiaries, with local community members, political officials, students, artists, and other like-minded individuals, like yourself, who work to support their community, end hunger, and promote a healthy and nutritious lifestyle. This year's theme is centered around the inner development goals. The idea behind these is that we must first unlock and grow our inner capacity, skills, and abilities to fully materialize humanitarian transformation. These IDGs are guiding principles that help us achieve our goals as we work with local communities here in the U.S., as well as in the 60-plus countries that we work in, to help end hunger and poverty while building healthy communities through increased nutritious lifestyles, especially for children. So what are some ways that you can get involved? Well, for those in the Seattle area, you can come out and walk with us for a mile, maybe 2, or you can see how long you last. But don't worry, you can always come out and just say hi, meet with Maurice, have a chat, and then send him on his way. So on top of that, another easy way to get involved is to make a donation. Participants are also able to start their own fundraising page to continue their efforts by reaching out to their own communities to get involved as well. So to make a donation or start your own fundraising page, click the link.
Well, of course, you're wondering where. Go to the podcast notes and click in the links.
In other exciting news, this year, Maurice has been chosen to be an ambassador for Knox Gear. Knox Gear is a brand company who makes safety and visibility gear for people and their pets who love to walk, run, play sports, or anyone who lives an active or outdoor lifestyle.
And yes, you're right. Also, this link can be found in the podcast notes.
When the link is used to make any Knox Gear purchase, 10% of the total purchase will be donated back to support CWS hunger and nutrition programs. So for anybody interested in joining us, getting more involved, or simply just wanting to stay connected, you can send us an email at innovationhub@cwsglobal.org.
You're right. You can find the link again in the podcast notes.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, if you haven't already, become a Walk, Talk, Listen subscriber. So let's get walking together. And don't forget to #go the extra 100 mile.
Thank you for listening to Walk, Talk, Listen. Please check us out on 100mile.org or follow us on Facebook or Instagram.